Hello, and welcome to the Math 0362 Final Exam Review. Congratulations on making it this far. Hopefully this was a good semester for you. Now let's finish this last test and you can move on to higher math. The first question wants us to factor. So I'll do two sets of parentheses. Let's start with that first. The first number is 2. I like 2 because the only numbers that make 2 are 2 and 1. So I have to use 2x and 1x. The last number is 3. I like 3 because the only numbers that multiply to 3 are 3 times 1. I have to use that. Let's see which signs we should use. 3 times 1x is 3x. 2x times 1 is 2x. The question is, can 3x and 2x equal to negative 5x? The answer is yes. If your signs are both negative, that's your answer. 2 is going to work in a similar fashion, but notice something interesting. In question 2, you can divide every single term by 3x. Let's do that first. You don't have to, but it makes life a lot easier if you do. If you do, you get x2 minus 6x plus 5. Now we're ready to factor. x2 is going to be x and x. The last number is 5, and the only numbers that make 5 are 5 and 1, so you have to use that. But that's okay. Negative 5 and minus 1 is negative 6. And remember 3x? It just comes in front. So, that's done. Question 3. Question 3 is a perfect square, because 4 is the same as 2 and 2. The last is 81, which is 9 and 9. And when dealing with perfect squares, your signs are always plus and minus. Four likes us to solve to the equation. So we'll start by factoring. X squared, of course, x and x. And 10. Numbers that make 10 are 5 and 2. I like 5 and 2 because I can make 5 and 2 equal to 3 if you do plus 5 and minus 2. And then to solve, just do the opposite. So your answers are negative 5 and positive 2. Question 5 says find the domain. To do the domain, just set the bottom equal to 0. We're going to ignore the top. In fact, I'm going to cross it off so I'm not tempted. All you do is plus 7, so your answer is 7. There's two ways to express that. One way is just put a slash mark through equals. The other way is interval notation. Negative infinity to 7, then 7 to infinity. Six wants us to find the product. First, let's factor as much as possible. x2 minus 49 is a perfect square. That becomes x minus 7 and x plus 7. x2 minus 3x minus 28 can factor. Of course, you'll have x and x. And two numbers that make 28 are 7 and 4. I'm going to do minus and plus. X plus 4 over x will not change. When you get this far, look for anything up top that looks like anything on the bottom, like x minus 7. They cross off. Or x plus 4. They also cross off. Whatever's left is your answer, so it's x plus 7 over x. In question 7, they would like us to subtract two fractions. In grade school, if you wanted to add or subtract fractions, the bottom has to be the same. You have to make everything fair. Right now, things are not fair. This has 6. this does not have 6. So I'm going to have to give it a 6. So I'll squeeze it in here and up top here. Now that it's the same, I can write one big fraction with 6x in the bottom. Everything up top, bring it down. So 6 and negative x is negative 6x. 6 times 2 is 12. And here's something important. This minus sign affects both the x and the negative 5. Don't forget. So it becomes negative 1x plus 5. From here, we'll just combine whatever we can. So you'll have negative 7x, and 12 plus 5 is 17, all over 6x. In question 8, you see two fractions separated by equals. What we'd like to do is cross multiply. First, a goes with a minus 4. So that will become a2 minus 4a. Next, if it'll let me, here we go. Negative 6 multiplies to a minus 8. So you get negative 6a plus 48. So, good news. You don't have to deal with fractions anymore. However, because there's a2, everybody has to be on the same side. So plus 6a and minus 48. So you get a2 plus 2a minus 48. Now this will factor. a2 becomes a and a. 48 is going to become 8 and 6, which is plus 8 and minus 6. To get the answer, just do the opposite. So your answers are negative 8 and positive 6. In order to do the word problem, one trick you can do is something that I personally call FAR. FAR stands for flip, add, and reciprocal. Here is an action. First, look for numbers. Look for time, like 2 minutes and 9 minutes. 500 pounds is not time, so just cross that off. First, let's flip it over. So make it a fraction. So it's going to be 1/2 plus 1/9. Then get a common denominator. So I'll multiply this by 9 over 9 and 2 over 2. So you get 9 over 18 plus 2 over 18, which is 11 over 18. Which is all good. But when you're done, take the reciprocal of that, which is 18 over 11. And that's your answer. There is an easier way that you can do this. If you want to know the easier way, stop by one of our test reviews and I will show you. Anyway, question 10. It's really 4 small problems in one. We're just going to replace x with whatever they tell us to replace it with. First in line is 3. So it would be 3 squared minus 3 times 3 plus 1. You could put it in the calculator. If you don't, then 3 squared is 9, minus 9 plus 1 is 1. Next, do the same with 0. So 0 squared minus 3 times 0 plus 1. You get 0 minus 0 plus 1, that's just 1. Next, we'll plug in negative 1. So we get negative 1 squared minus 3 times negative 1 plus 1. So you get 1 plus 3 plus 1, and that's equal to 5. And finally, negative 2. So you get negative 2 squared minus 3 times negative 2 plus 1. So you get 4 plus 6 plus 1, which is 11. All right. Next question, f2 and f negative 2. First, let's find out f2. Well, x is 2 right here. First, go straight up until you hit the graph, which you hit, and then come across, and looks like the answer is 3. As for negative 2, well, negative 2 is over here. This time go down until you hit something, and then go across. Looks like the answer is negative 3. Done, done. "12 would like us to solve by substitution. The trick is to either get x alone or y alone. And notice y is alone here. So I can replace this y with everything. So it's 3x minus 7 times x minus 3 equals 17. Negative 7 will multiply through, so that's negative 7x plus 21 equals 17. Still have 3x here. 3x and negative 7x becomes negative 4x plus 21 equals 17. From here, I'll minus 21. So negative 4x equals negative 4. And then divide by negative 4. And what you get is x equals 1. Alright, so you know what x is. To find y, you're going to plug into any equation you want. Doesn't matter. I'll pick the second equation. It looks easier. Y equals x minus 3. I'm going to replace this x with 1. So y equals 1 minus 3, or negative 2. "13, they'd like us to solve by substitution. Addition. In order to do addition method, x and y have to be on the same side. Right now, that's not the case. Not with the first equation. So first, 3x will have to move. So it has to move over here as negative 3x. So you end up getting negative 3x plus y equals 7. And 6x minus 2y equals negative 14. Okay, negative 14. From here, let me cross multiply. I'll multiply the top row by 6 and the bottom row by 3. 6 times negative 3 is negative 18. 6 times y is 6y. 6 times 7 is 42. 3 times 6, that's positive 18x, minus 6y equals negative 42. Well, x's go away. 18 goes away. But so does the 6. So does the 42. So does the 42. When everything crosses off, that means your answer is infinite solutions. "14 likes us to solve by graphing. So first, x plus y equals 8. We'll replace x with 0, then replace y with 0. If you replace x with 0, you just get 0 plus y equals 8, which means y equals 8. If you replace y with 0, you get x plus 0 equals 8, which means x is 8. You have 2 points. Let's graph. 0, 8 is right here up top. 8, 0 is over to the right. And then connect the dots. All right, great. Next is x minus y equals 4. Again, we'll make a list of what everything is. If x is 0, that means negative y equals 4, or y equals negative 4. If y is 0, that means x equals 4. You have 2 points. Let's graph. 0, negative 4 is right here, down the bottom. 4, 0 is over here. And now connect those dots. Wherever the red and blue cross is your answer. So it looks like your answer is 6 and 2. All right, 15, they'd like us to find the equation of the slope. Equation of the line. First, we need the slope. So we'll call it x1, y1, x2, y2. And slope goes y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. y1 is 8, y2 is 3, x1 is negative 1, and x2 is 0. This works out to be 5 over negative 1, which is negative 5. When that's done, now you can use y equals m. Y equals mx plus b. We can plug in any point for x and y, it doesn't matter. In my opinion, I would go with 0 and 3 just because it's easier when you're dealing with 0. So it's going to be 3 equals negative 5 times 0 plus b. Negative 5 times 0 is 0, so that just leaves 3 equals b. So your equation is y equals negative 5x plus 3. All right, in 16, it says y varies directly as x. Well, here's the thing. When it says y is direct as x, y varies directly as x, that's like saying y divided by x. Y is 2, x is 12, and 2 over 12 is 1/6. This is your k. So your equation is y equals to 1 over 6x. And that's it. 17, they like us to find the absolute value. First step is to subtract 2. This will give us the absolute alone. So x minus 6 equals 2. Now you can treat this as two problems. First is as is. So that means x minus 6 equals 2. We'll do plus 6. So 2 plus 6 equals 8. That's your first answer. Next we'll do opposite. Still have x minus 6, but this time is equal to negative 2. Still do plus 6, so x equals 4. '18, same thing. 18 we're going to do as is and opposite. As is just x plus 8 is greater than 13. Subtract 8, so x is greater than or equal to 5. That's one answer. Next is opposite. You still have x plus 8, but this time it's less than negative 13. Not only does the sign change, but the arrow changes as well. Do minus 8, so x is less than negative 21. Let's go to the number line. Mark off 2 points. Doesn't matter as long as the smaller number is first. With 5, the arrow goes right. So I'll color the right side in blue. With negative 21, arrow goes left. Color the left side in red. I'll give them both brackets, and it looks like you have two answers. Negative infinity to negative 21, and then 5 to infinity. (19) They'd like us to graph. So first we'll have x equals 0, then y equals 0. If x equals 0, then you just have y is greater than 4. So there's a point 0, 4. If you have y equals 0, that means 4x is greater than 4. And if you divide by 4, it means x is greater than 1. So you have a point 1, 0. Let's graph. 0, 4 is right here. 1, 0 is over here. Now, because it didn't have an equal sign, I have to use a dotted line. Like so. Now, whether I shade up or down, just look at y. Since it says greater, that means shade up. So everything above the blue line. All right. 20. First, negative 8. Negative 8 is a perfect cube. It's negative 2. But 15 divided 3 is 5. So negative 2x5. 21, just go one at a time. 16 is perfect square. It's 4. Outside there's a little 2. 2 divided 2 is y1. 4 divided 2 is x2. And since 5 is not perfect, 5 stays inside. All right, in 22, we'll just work this one term at a time. 75 is not perfect, but two numbers that make 75 are 25 and 3. I like 25 because 25 is perfect. It's 5. But there's a 6 waiting to multiply, so it becomes 30 square root 3. Again, 20. Not perfect, but two numbers that make 20 are 4 and 5. I like 4 because it's perfect, it's 2. But there's a negative 2 waiting, so it's going to change to negative 4 square root 5. So that part's over. And finally, 27. Not perfect, but two numbers to make 27 are 9 and 3. 9's perfect, it's 3. But there's a negative 2 waiting outside, so it becomes negative 6 square root 3. If you notice the first and last answer, they both have square root 3. So you can do 30 minus 6, which is 24 square root 3. Then minus 4 square root 5. (23) Solve the radical. First, I have to get the radical alone, which means plus 1. Now we can raise to a power 2. So you have 4x minus 7 equals 25. And for the remainder of the time, it's now just a regular algebra question. This means plus 7. So 4x equals 32. Divide by 4. X equals 8. Here we go. Okay. All right, solve the radical. Because of the 3, you're going to raise to a power 3 instead. So you get 3x equals 27, and then divide 3, meaning x equals 9. 25. 25 is not FOIL because there's a plus sign in between. But it's easier than FOIL. Just going to do 8 plus 8, which is 16. And negative 4i plus 3i, which is negative 1i. That's it. 26 is not FOIL either. You're just going to subtract instead. So first, 7 minus 8 is negative 1. And then negative 4i minus negative 3i. Well, the double negatives is positive, but negative 4 plus 3 is also negative 1i. 27 is a FOIL. There's a little power too, so I have to write the problem twice. Now we can FOIL. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times negative 2i is negative 6i. Negative 2i times 3 is negative 6i again. And negative 2i times negative 2i is positive 4i squared. First of all, the I squared is going to change positive 4 into negative 4. And then negative 4 and 9 combines to make 5. Then negative 6i and negative 6i becomes negative 12i. That's your answer. 28 is just distributing. So 3i times 5 is 15i. And 3i times negative 8i is negative 24i squared. Again, I squared will change negative 24 into positive 24. So you're just going to get 24 plus 15i. All right, 29. It's a quadratic formula, and as you see, I wrote the formula for you. But be sure to remember it because it will not be given. Let's make a list. A is 1. B is negative 1. C is also negative 1. And plug in everything you know. So B minus negative is going to be positive 1 plus or minus square root of negative 1 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 1 over 2 times 1. Well, working the inside, negative 1 squared is 1. Negative 4 times 1 times negative 1 is positive 4 over 2. Well, 1 plus 4 is 5. And since 5 is not perfect, your answer will remain 1 plus or minus square root 5 over 2. You cannot go further. 30 is going to work the same way. So this time, A is 1, B is 6, C is 13. So you're going to get negative 6 plus or minus square root 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times 13 over 2 times 1. So you get negative 6 plus or minus 36. 4 times 1 times 13 is 52 over 2. 36 minus 52 is negative 16, which reduces to 4i because of the negative. What you're left with is negative 6 plus or minus 4i over 2. And because 6, 4, and 2 are all even, it further breaks down to negative 3 plus or minus 2i. So that concludes our review for the entire semester. Hopefully this has been a great help. If you have any questions or if you did not think this was a big help, stop by the Math Resource Center in ESEE 1112 and we can address any questions you may have. Otherwise, good luck on the exam and see you for either college algebra or statistics or whatever you decide to take. Thank you and have a great year.